Is the Joe Biden you met with the same Joe Biden on that debate stage? Tell us.
No, he's the Joe Biden we've all seen working his tail off for decades. He is absolutely the same Joe Biden we all have known.
What signs of decline did you notice?
You know, I was busy working. I didn't see the president frequently, and I can tell you I can't speak to that directly.
That first one just a couple of weeks after the debate. Quick thought on that, Tom?
Look, you mentioned this earlier, Martha. This was not a cover-up. This was gaslighting, and the American people knew it. And it was at the White House, but the media, many in the media, dutifully reported it. And now we need to get to the bottom of exactly what happened, why it happened, so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most important job in the country, and the person has to be functioning. And if the people around him don't draw some attention to it, I think it raises real questions of accountability for the safety of the nation.
Boy, 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 boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the Democrat Party lying to the American people, gaslighting the American people on the fact that they covered up Biden's mental decline. Okay, I think that everybody knew that they knew, and they just lied to the American people, and the media lied to the American people. And now you have the media, specifically CNN, more so than any other outlet. I don't think MSNBC cares about this story because they don't care about their credibility, to be honest with you, right? So they're just moving on past it. But CNN they're really stuck on it, right? They're really stuck on going after Democrats for, again, lying to them, right? Lying to the media about Joe Biden's mental cover-up, even though, again, CNN, they knew that Biden was mentally declining. They were complicit, okay? But regardless, they have been confronting Democrat after Democrat after Democrat on what they knew about Joe Biden at the time before his collapse on the CNN debate stage. Like, for example, they confronted Hakeem Jeffries, aka Discount Obama, right? Timu Obama. They confronted him on CNN about Biden's cognitive decline. And of course, Hakeem Jeffries deflects and plays the whataboutism game, right? Instead of actually addressing the fact that he and the rest of the Democrat Party were complicit in the cover-up of Biden's mental decline. Take a look.
From the book, President Biden didn't even recognize George Clooney at a fundraiser that the movie star was actually hosting for him. Why should voters trust Democrats when it's clear so many in your party went to great lengths to keep Biden's condition hidden from the public?
I can't tell you what happened between George Clooney and President Biden. I wasn't at that event. What I can say is that we're not looking backward. We're going to continue to look forward, because at this moment, we've got real problems that need to be addressed on behalf of the American people, including the Republican effort to snatch away health care, snatch away food assistance, and hurt veterans.
You interacted with President Biden during those days, those final days he was president of the United States. Did you sense there was a major deterioration?
Well, in the conversations that I was able to have on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus in those final days, we simply expressed our perspective as to what would be best for the party at that given moment in time. President Biden subsequently made the decision that he was going to pass the baton to Vice President Kamala Harris. Of course, that was a decision that we supported strongly.
Just very quickly, I want to ask you, Congressman Jeffries, you say we're not looking back, we're looking forward, but what happened in the past has to do with what's going to happen in the future and whether voters can trust Democrats. As you look back, you were in a leadership position when President Biden decided to run again. Should you have done more at that point to intervene?
It's a great question in terms of whether voters can trust Democrats or not. Every single high-profile special election that has taken place since President Trump was inaugurated, a special election victory in Iowa in January, a special election victory in New York in February, a special election victory in Pennsylvania in March, a special election victory in Wisconsin in the Supreme Court race in April, and yesterday, decisively defeating a Republican incumbent in Omaha in a surprise to many observers. Clearly, voters are trusting Democrats. This year, when they go to the ballot, repeatedly rejecting MAGA extremism.
Yeah, so again, with the reports getting worse and worse and worse, right? The truth serum coming out from the liberal media, there are a lot of embarrassing details. Like, for example, that Biden was forgetting people's names, right? Longtime aides like Jake Sullivan and Kate Bedingfield, Biden apparently forgot their names halfway through his term, right? He totally forgot. Again, on top of the fact that apparently Joe Biden was one fall away from being in a wheelchair. So not only was he physically, declining, but also cognitively declining as well, too, in which Biden's spokesperson said, well, there's no evidence he was cognitively declining. It's like, well, why is Biden forgetting the names of his longtime aides? I mean, we can't forget the fact that Biden also reportedly talked about meeting with dead people, right? He would often reference dead people in his speeches, I mean, Biden, again, he seemed to be mentally declining, right? Does not seem to be all the way there upstairs, And Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor for Joe Biden, was confronted with the same question about, well, what did you know? And once again, we have more dumbfounded Democrats pretending like they're completely and totally surprised by what we saw from Joe Biden at the CNN debate stage. Take a look.
But the accusation is not that he could never perform well, is that it was that he couldn't do it all the time, that he was only able to function well for a few hours in the day, that he would have moments of forgetfulness, there's actually an excerpt in the book where it says he forgot your name in December 2022, he called you Steve a couple of times. Did that happen?
I do not recall that ever happening, and I will tell you, Joe Biden knows my name. He knows my name like I talk to him even now, so I was surprised to read that in the book. But what I will more generally say is I had to wake the president up in the middle of the night when there were crises. I had to go into him at various points when unexpected things happened, and surely plenty of unexpected things happened during the time that he was in office and that I was in the seat. I did that over the course of the 4 years, and I saw him operating, decision-making, executing as commander-in-chief throughout that time.
You never witnessed this thing that all these aides are talking about to these journalists, that sometimes he would just sort of fade away. You never witnessed that.
I could just tell you my own personal experience. I cannot speak on behalf of aides, unnamed people, and I can't speak on behalf of what folks reacted to when they saw him operating in public. All I can do is tell you my experience with him, and that's what I've done. What happened in that debate was a shock to me. I think it was a shock to everybody. And I've made that point before.
Just finally, do you think, in retrospect, given everything that's happened, everything we've talked about today, it was a mistake for President Biden to try to run again?
One of the things about being national security advisor is that you're mercifully insulated from politics and political decision making. I was insulated from it to the point where, while I was national security advisor, my spouse was running for Congress, and I had strict rules about what I could even do to support my spouse, let alone be involved in political decision-making, political calls in the White House. So I have not weighed in on those issues and would not weigh in on those issues.
Does anybody really believe this, right? Does anybody really believe this, especially considering the fact that there were reports about Joe Biden doing debate prep, apparently deciding that he's going to walk off after like 15 to 30 minutes and take a nap by the pool, right, in the middle of debate prep? But again, I'm surprised, right? Everybody was surprised by what we saw on the debate stage, right? This guy, Jake Sullivan, was Biden's national security advisor. Well, I didn't know, right? I didn't know, yeah, I mean, there's no surprise to me in regards to the Democrats and their approval continuing to fall, right? I mean, their approval rating and the feelings amongst Democrats in regards to how they feel about the Democrat Party is not good, It is because of this type of continuous gaslighting and lies coming from this administration. All of these people are pretending as if they knew nothing at all about Joe Biden mentally declining. It is fascinating stuff, especially considering how everybody knew that this was the case. Like, the average American knew that this was the case, except the mainstream liberal media and the Democrat Party, which, again, is why you're getting these types of polls.
The Democratic Party is in worse shape today, both in terms of how it's viewed by the general electorate, but also how Democrats feel about it, than at any time that I can remember in my covering of politics, which is now, because I'm old, almost 3 decades. All right, so let's go through a couple things. So first of all, Associated Press poll, national poll out on Thursday morning. Some of these numbers are stunning. They asked Democrats how optimistic or pessimistic they feel about their party's future. 1 in 3 Democrats, 33% of Democrats, said they are either very optimistic or even somewhat optimistic about their party's future. 33%, 1 in 3. Compare that to July 2024, when 6 in 10 Democrats said they felt either very or somewhat optimistic about their party's future. Now, I will note, July 2024 was when Democrats were in the midst of changing their nominee, right? Joe Biden had the debate. Kamala Harris was becoming we were debating what was going to happen. Biden gets out of the race July 21st. Kamala Harris gets into the race. Maybe you get a little of the excitement of switching from Biden to Harris in those numbers, but 6 in 10 Democrats, even in that moment, which was chaotic at a minimum, even in that moment said they were somewhat or very optimistic about the future of the party. Today, it is 1 in 3. And just by way of comparison, what percentage of Republicans feel very or somewhat optimistic about their party's future right now? A majority, 55%. So a huge delta there.
And it's not just Democrats feeling the heat for covering up the cognitive decline of Joe Biden. You also have Jake Tapper, who was very complicit in the cover up as well too, who now again is writing this book, this tell-all book, again after participating in the cover up, like one of the ultimate grifters, one of the most disgusting grifters in the media. He has come out and admitted that, yeah, I could have did a better job on this, right? Like I definitely dropped the ball when it comes to doing journalism, right? Actually investigating the Democrats and their claims and whether or not Joe Biden was struggling. Take a look.
Think of conservatives now criticizing you and the media in general for how President Biden was covered during his administration.
I think some of the criticism is fair, to be honest, of me. Certainly, I'm not going to speak for anybody else. But knowing then what I know now, I look back at my coverage during the Biden years, and I did cover some of these issues, but not enough. I look back on it with humility. What we learned through our reporting is that starting in around 2019, 2020, there were 2 Bidens. There was a Biden that was perfectly workable, serviceable, seemed fine, and then there was a non-functioning one that couldn't come up with names of top aides, that would lose his train of thought to an alarming degree. And that non-functioning Biden reared his head increasingly over and over. It really seemed to exacerbate and get much worse in 2023, 2024.
Yeah, so it doesn't just stop there when it comes to the truth serum that is being aired on the mainstream liberal media airwaves, right? From Democrat operatives and mainstream liberal media anchors who want to keep their credibility. Like, for example, you had a Democrat operative on CNN admit that the hush money trial, the hush money case against President Trump, definitely was politically motivated, right? That this was Democrats trying to go after their political opponent. This was admitted on CNN's airways by a Democrat operative. Take a look.
Are mad. Why the base is mad at some of the leaders in Washington is not because they're not left enough. It's because, Chuck Schumer came out with no strategy, no forewarning, and just said, we're going to fold on the CR. I mean, I think he could have done a better job of explaining what the strategy was and what we're going to do, but there wasn't anything like that. I think Democrats are learning, and I'm going to agree with you, that Democrats cannot only be the party of resistance. We cannot, we resisted so hard between 2017 and 2024. We impeached the guy. We prosecuted him, convicted him of 34 felony counts, and guess what? He still got elected. So I don't know how much harder we can resist now.
Are you admitting that, that the case against Trump in New York was part of the organized Democratic Party resistance?
It was a Democratic prosecutor, and at the time, I thought it was unwise. I went on Fox News and said
there were Democrats who said this at the time.
There were a lot.
Just to be clear, everybody who now touts the 34 felonies, take it from Liz. This was not a real case. This was a plot to upend the presidential campaign, which backfired.
I just think it was a boneheaded move by Alvin Bragg, but it's not his first or last one. So.
This is why we invite Liz, because she's a plain-spoken New York Paul who can really tell it straightforward in a straightforward.
Wow. Every single so-called right-wing conspiracy theory is turning out to be true. Every single one. Biden wasn't politically persecuted, right? Had nothing to do with the Democrat Party, right? This was totally fair, right? Non-biased, okay? Totally fair. Now they come out and admit when it doesn't matter anymore, right? When it doesn't matter anymore, yeah, the Democrats tried to throw everything at President Trump, including tried to throw the man in jail, right? And that's bad, right? It's really hurting our party. Again, this is why they covered up Biden's mental decline, is because they hated Trump so much. They were like, you know what? We would rather lie to the American people about a president who is not cognitively able to function, right? Who's not even running the country, right? We'll lie to the American people about that in order to stop Trump from winning, right? We will try to throw Trump in jail. We will politically persecute him in order to try to stop him from winning. And again, we were told when we kept saying this at the time that this is what's happening, that we are right-wing conspiracy theorists, right? That we're making stuff up, cheap fakes, okay? That this is just propaganda. And again, just a year later, now all these people want to come out and admit what we were saying at the time. It's extremely frustrating, extremely frustrating. But hey, this is why I say that nobody can trust the Democrat Party. Nobody can trust the mainstream liberal media. I don't know why anybody ever believes that when it comes to anything, because what they say has nothing to do with what's actually happening in reality. It has everything to do with what they want to happen, right? The reality that they wanted, right? They wanted a reality in which Joe Biden wasn't cognitively declining, right? They wanted a reality in which, oh, yeah. All of these charges, all of these political persecutions against Trump, no. It's totally fair. It's not unbiased, right? This is not Democrats trying to lock up their political opponents. No, this is justice. They were lying the whole time about everything. Again, it's just so frustrating that they admit this when it doesn't matter anymore, right? And they're only doing it to try to save their own credibility, right? That's the crazy part about it. They would not be admitting any of these things if Kamala Harris had won, right? If Kamala Harris had won, they would not be admitting any of this stuff, right? So, hey, at the end of the day, I personally think that all of these people, they don't deserve their credibility back, right? I don't think that any of these people should be trusted again, right? A lie at this scale is not something that should be forgiven. In the ideal world, these people never have jobs again, not the type of jobs they got right now, right? Like, I mean, I believe Jake Tapper should be fired. Joe Scarborough should be fired. Jake Sullivan, everybody in the Biden administration, like, these people should not have jobs again, right? Because they lied about something that you just can't lie about to the American people, and they cover it up. And again, you still got some Democrats, some people, they still gaslighting, right? Even as the truth serum comes out, they're still gaslighting. So I'm like, well, if they're going to continue to lie, despite the truth coming out, right? Everybody knowing that, okay, this is what happened. Everybody admitting that this is what happened. And they're still saying, well, I didn't know anything about it, right? I didn't see it. I don't understand how anybody can ever trust these people ever again. And again, that's why, in my opinion, or at least part of the reason why, outside of the bad policy from the Democrats, why their approval continues to tank, why nobody trusts them. I mean, their own party doesn't trust them, right? Their own party doesn't like the Democrat Party. And it's because, hey, it's hard to like a party that lies to you, right? That gaslights, okay? That is not in touch with reality. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.